Welcome back to another episode of The Gun Show. We shine a light on the makers, the doers, and the dreamers shaping the future of manufacturing. Today, we've got a guest who literally grew up with chips in his shoes and blueprints on the kitchen table. My buddy Tim is the Great Lakes District Sales Manager for OSG USA, but before that, he was a CNC programmer, a plant manager, and a kid learning the ropes in his family's machine shop in Ohio. With a deep passion for preparing the next generation of machinists and engineers, Tim's here to talk about education, evolution, and why DIY doesn't stop at home improvement. Buckle up, it's going to be a fun one, Tim. Good to see you, brother.
Absolutely. Good to see you.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you.
Yes, thanks for being here, man. I got a lot of questions. I want to learn about you, what you do, who you are. Do you like it? Do you not like it? What's behind that amazing smile of yours, Tim? Tell us a little bit about you.
Well, I'm from Ohio, so don't hold it against me, being that we're here at AME in Michigan.
Fair enough.
I had to cover my license plate.
Isn't there?
A little bit of one, yeah. I got run off the road only about 4 times on the way up, but no, it was. I'm happy to be here. It's actually my first time at AME, so thank you for giving me time to talk to everyone, all of your audience. But I'm sorry, what was your original question?
No, keep going. It's about you. You were doing the right thing.
fair enough.
Talking about you, my friend.
So from Ohio, born and raised, from Mansfield, Ohio, in fact, which is right in between Cleveland and Columbus. Everyone knows those two cities, so we're the town you drive through when you go from one to the other.
Nice.
Family had a machine shop and a fabrication shop in Mansfield from the time I was 3 years old. So my uncles and aunts were all machinists and programmers and people in the industry. Not my real uncles and aunts, but I had many uncles and aunts, let's say. I had a passion for manufacturing from a young age because my dad was very much into engineering and making things with his hands. My grandfather was a plant manager for AMF. So this whole manufacturing thing really sort of runs in my blood. It's in my DNA. So I've been in the industry from the time I can remember. I know my first parts were made before I could even remember, and I probably got cut by chips, in my diapers still. After graduating college, family business did go under after a while, as it happens, and I ended up going to a few other machine shops in my hometown of Mansfield, Ashland area, and found OSG about 5 or 6 years ago, and haven't looked back. I came to the sales side, loving it, loving training people on tooling, the new technology, learning myself, about the new technology. So yeah, that brings me here to today.
I love it. That's a great part. As a part of that segue, my friend, can you remember back to how old you were when you made your first part? And did you scrap it? Was it good? What was it like? Did you break the machine? What machine did you use? Tell us that story. I would love to know more about that.
My first part was probably on, believe it or not, a manual router. So actually a router bit that sticks up through the table, and we're pushing plastic through the router. It's a manual, getting your fingers a centimeter away from the router bit at 7 years old.
Like a bandsaw, but a router when you're pushing material through.
Yes, you're pushing it through. That was probably the first machine I actually ran that was a spindled machine, let's say.
Okay.
And I did that for a long time, actually. Did a lot with routers and mills and drill presses. My first part, I couldn't say I remember that, honestly, but I'm sure I scrapped it, and I'm sure I got a good tongue lashing from my father.
I'm sure I scrapped it. Well, you did mention maybe being in diapers.
Yes, yeah, I probably was. Yeah, so it goes back too far to remember, but over the years, I've done everything from plastic to wood to obviously steel and all the different varieties of steel, stainless steels and everything else. So, by far, machining is my favorite thing in the world to do, and I'm happy to be still in the industry. So
I like that perspective. I wish that sentence could be so profound to the middle schools and high schools out there, because I agree with you.
Yeah.
I love what I do. I love making things. I love being a machinist. And it's just oftentimes considered a secondary choice after university.
Yeah.
And it's just not true. It's not true. And I want to talk a little bit about you being a mentor. And my second question for you is that you've already mentioned, you've gone from sweeping floors to working with one of the most respected cutting tool companies in the entire world. I mean, everyone knows OSG. I want to take the S out and just say the original gangster, right? Like this is OSG. What lessons from your early days help you mentor the next generation?
Well, one of the things I learned growing up in a machine shop is that if you don't have a willingness to learn, if you're not open to hearing what the old timers, as we call them, would want to teach you, then they're not going to teach you. So having that openness, that willingness to learn, that humility is probably the biggest thing. If you're just getting into the industry, that would be my biggest advice, is to be humble, be open to learning, and just be a sponge.
That's, I think, the advice I was told when I was young.
Yeah.
I think it's also advice. I think this is becoming residual advice because
Yes.
I don't know about you, Tim, but when I was 20, I knew everything.
Yeah.
I knew
Absolutely.
it all when I was, so you couldn't tell me a damn thing.
Yeah. That
But
is something.
now, I know enough to know I don't know anything at all.
It's funny how that happens. In your 20s, you know everything. In your 30s, you kind of realize you don't. And then in your 40s, you're convinced of it. You don't. So, yeah, that was sort of my evolution as well. But no, I think being open and learning and, grasping onto new technology, always looking at the new things that are coming out, trying to, as I say, skate where the puck is going, not where the puck is at. So that would be my biggest tip for folks coming into the industry.
Hey there, manufacturers. Need to sell your surplus CNC machinery? Whether it's vertical machining centers, CNC lathes, or machines from top brands like Yazda, Matsur, or Watchon, let me introduce you to Revelation Machinery. If you've never worked with a used machinery dealer before, here's what you're missing. Selling equipment on your own can mean long waits, low offers, and lots of time chasing leads. Revelation Machinery changes the game, bringing nationwide exposure to your machines. Their team is located across the USA, so wherever you are, you've got a local expert on your side. Revelation doesn't just list your equipment, they use targeted marketing methods to get your machines in front of serious buyers. Revelation Machinery is committed to fair pricing, full transparency, and taking care of the details. From paperwork to logistics and even rigging if you need it, they're there every step of the way so you're not juggling any part of the process alone. Ready to let a trusted partner handle the heavy lifting? Head to revelationmachinery.com/thegunshow to see how easy it is to turn that surplus machinery into cash with Revelation Machinery. That was my problem on the ice hockey rink.
Yeah.
I was always going toward the puck, not where it would. See, you're teaching me something today.
See, in Ohio, we're not hockey people. I had to do that for the Michigan folks here. So.
Well played. I actually fall down a lot. I can barely ice skate. If I could go after the puck, I would.
Yeah.
Where it was or where it would be, doesn't matter. I would like to take a moment because you and I both come from machining. I happen to have a microphone in my hand right now, and you happen to be working with one of the best, if not the best, probably in your opinion, cutting tools on the planet. But we didn't start here. We worked our way up. We both swept floors. I know I mopped on weekends to make a little extra money. I've broken quite a few windmills and tools along the way. I've definitely changed my underwear a few times along the way, but I've created a lot of success as well. Manufacturing has been a gift to my life. Not everyone knows, but I got kicked out of 3 universities. I barely graduated high school, and somehow I've traveled to over 80 countries around the world and worked with the head engineers at most elite places like your NASA's and Google's and SpaceX's everywhere.
That's
and
great.
I'm blown away because I didn't get through geometry in high school about how the heck I got here, right?
Yeah.
So I give all that because I say all that to you, Tim, because manufacturing's taken me places I've never thought I'd ever reach. I had dreamed of, I had hoped for,
Yep.
but I didn't know I would ever get there. And it's taken me there. How do we reach kids these days, based on our experience, what you've been through, what I just described to you, how do we get them to appreciate everything that's made, everything that's touched around them right now is touched by manufacturing, and get them to appreciate a field that has been pushed into the background for the last 30, 40 years?
Yeah, that's a great point, and that is the $1 million question because, as you said, from the time I was a kid, it seemed like the big push was go to college, get a degree. We don't really care what your degree is going to be, and just go do that.
Yeah.
It became an extra 4 years of high school.
Get a whole lot of debt for something that's not going to make you any money, maybe.
Exactly, and that was the MO for the longest time when I was growing up too. But I think what I've seen in the industry is the increases in technology, the advances in technology, the innovation, all the changes that inspires people to come and be a part of this because technology. Kids are all about technology, obviously. So if we can show them what we're doing, the high technology, and get that image of a guy covered in grease and overalls wrenching on something out of their minds. And people think of manufacturing as just what I described and the hard sciences as you're running around in a smock. or a lab coat or something. In reality, what we see and what we know is that those two things are merging and combining completely. So folks who are interested in STEM, interested in technology, interested in engineering, combining that with the hands-on training as you're young, doing machining and working your way into that, I think is the best path. And I think showing kids what the machining path leads to, like you said, you traveled 80 countries. I've traveled not 80, but a few, but a few so far. And seeing what you can accomplish in this industry with or without a college degree, frankly, I think it's really important.
I agree. And I think you hit a couple of incredibly valuable points about stereotypes and conditioning and this university thing, all of these points, right? But you also mentioned something, technology. Now, I think you and I are probably of similar ages. We're probably around the Gen X demographic, I would say, right? Are you Gen X?
Almost. I'm a Zennial, technically.
Okay.
That means I was born in 1882.
Okay.
It's a very small window to avoid being a millennial.
I was born in 78. But knowing that year or that time, we saw the changes of all things. Probably at the fastest rate that's ever been in history. We had the annoying ass dial-up internet that took an hour to download a photo. We had pagers thinking we were cool. We had the fear of calling our girlfriends and maybe dad would answer because there's no caller ID. There's only one phone line.
Absolutely.
The kids don't know about this stuff, right? And we saw the evolution of all of this from our grandma's rotary phone to the smartphones we have today. We saw the BlackBerry rise and collapse. We saw the flip phones. Do you remember pressing the number, whatever it was, to text somebody, but you had to press it 3 times to get to the letter you wanted?
Yes, absolutely. I had the muscle memory in my thumbs. I was pretty good.
Yeah. Do you remember this one? Do you remember going to a payphone and calling collect and being like, I'm at the blah, 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 pick me up? And
the mall and the movies every weekend. Absolutely.
Yes. The kids don't know about that, but all of that is to say they were born with technology and they know probably more about it except for the developers who our generation developed it. We created it. So we're really good at adapting to change and they're really good at technology. And if this is a technology-based industry and we're driving that direction heavily, the kids these days need to know that they are wanted in an industry that is not the smocks running around and the dirty oily guy. This is kind of where it all sits, right?
Absolutely. I think I was just talking about this the other day with somebody else, and I think when we grew up, it was the internet. That was the new disruptive technology that took over. And I think I have kids, 10 and 7-year-old at home. What their generation, I think, it's going to have the same thing, but it's going to be AI. That's going to be the next big disruptive. It already is the next big disruptive technology. So they're going to have that as well. They're going to have to adapt to that. But I think you're right. I think that is the thing. Getting that perception out of their mind of what a machinist is, what an engineer is, and showing them boots on the ground what's really happening out there.
Yeah, well said. And this is a topic I'm passionate about. I think you and I could probably go back and forth because we both love machining. But I'm going to slide on over to the next question, which I'm actually going to read because there's some parts of this that I think are a little bit entertaining because it talks about the gray hairs, which I'm starting to get as well. I have to read this one. You have worn a lot of hats, Tim. Programmer, engineer, plant manager, sales leader. Which role taught you the most about how to connect with the next generation? And which one gave you the most gray hair?
This is Shop Rescue.
Hi, my name is Alex Renner. I'm an implementation project manager at Paperless Parts, the leading quoting and estimating software for manufacturers. For the little guy, really what we're all about doing is setting up a process that's repeatable, putting guardrails in place so that a shop is gonna make money on the jobs that they do win, be able to filter out the jobs that maybe might not be the right fit for them, and at the end of the day, save time and drive more profitability for their business. I'm truly bought into the mission. It was when I saw the company, it really swayed me to take that step, and getting to see the light bulbs connect for our customers, see them give us accolades for how much time, money, savings they're generating with paperless. That's what keeps me ticking in this job.
Well, definitely when I was a plant manager for a while, for about 3 years.
I feel your pain.
That gave me the gray hair and the lack of hair, I think. Maybe that or the kids, I'm not sure.
Don't blame the kids.
Yeah, well, there's still time for them to turn it around. We'll see. But, all those different roles taught me things, about machining and about myself and about the industry. But I'd say the ones that taught me the most about the next generation and how to connect with them and get them excited about this has been the role I'm in now in sales, or as a plant manager when I was actively training people, bringing them up to speed on our machines and our processes and things like that. So I would say plant managing. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of folks out there listening and watching right now. They're gonna empathize with you.
Yeah, it's not an easy job.
It is. It, depending on the size, can get quite complex. Depending on, I have run 3 facilities: one in woodworking, one in precious metals, and one in more standard materials. And the shops that allowed me the freedom and the resources to do my job, that was okay. You know, I could manage people. We have all different personalities, you know, but it was okay. I was allowed to invest in doing better for the company. The ones that did not care and pretty much looked at me and said, look, turn that chicken shit into chicken salad. That's where I was like, come on, man, that's a little bit more frustrating. That's where my gray hair started to come from is,
right.
I'm not supposed to be doing it this way. Duct tape does not work like you think it does.
Right, exactly. And we've all been there. Sometimes you're not given all the resources you need, but you take the bad with the good and the good with the bad. And you know, there were times when I had to do things with a shoestring and a stick of wood or something to make something happen. Yeah, we had a broomstick handle that said "stare it" on it. Let's say that.
Said what on
it? Said "stare it" on it. We hand drove "stare it" into it because we would use it to put it on a rod that was too long and we didn't have a steady rest. So that was our way of keeping the vibration down. So we've all been there. But I think it is important for companies to invest in the resources to the new technology so they can not only train the next generation, but take advantage of those technologies today in their shops.
I agree. Totally agree. I now it would be remiss of me with you wearing that shirt and us talking a lot about you if we didn't a little bit talk about OSG.
Absolutely.
So I would like to hear, all right, we had a podcast for those of you who are listening and watched last week's episode or listened to it. We talked about the competition that's been ongoing, even though AI has now made it a 4th tier of competition. The competition between machine tools, software, and cutting tools. And how that is always done like this. Software has the programming capability that tools can't keep up with. Now the tools are better and software can't. Well, now the machine spindles have higher RPM, heavier rigidity and torque. So it's always been a constant evolution of the game. We're starting to get into AI a little bit, which is the 4th revolution. We're talking about the new industrial revolution. What is OSG doing in modern times and looking to the future to continue to evolve to be the global leader that you are?
Absolutely. So there's several things. One of the big things that OSG finds very important is sustainability. So reducing waste in our own factories, reducing the amount of waste and recycled fluids and things like that, that's very important to us, being as green as possible. And as far as training goes, we're constantly out there doing lunch and learns for our distributor partners, and then also collaborating with them to train our end users, their customers, as well as bringing people into our facility in Chicago. We have a nice facility there. It's our lab where we test materials and test our tools, things like that here in the States. So we routinely bring in groups to train them on the new cutting tool technologies, new ways of using our tools, exposing them to new machines that they may not have had exposure to yet because we have some pretty nice machines in our lab. So I think just getting out there and training, and we also go to technical colleges, high schools, adult education programs. That's a big one. Having the guys go out and speak to those groups, not only to add value to those folks, but also because it helps us, because then when they get out into the industry, they know the name, they know OSG, and they're more knowledgeable. They're more likely to run our tools and everyone else's properly. So yeah, we're out there training the world as much as we can.
I like that. I want to talk more about training because I think that's important. It's not an even playing field, but I'm going to pretend it is for just a second when it comes to your most known cutting tools out there. Let's just pretend it's an even playing field. I stepped back into when I was a machinist, and my training came from running something, manually overriding the speeds in both directions, faster and slower, listening to the product because manual machines came first before CNCs. If everything worked okay, maybe changing the depth of cut, depending on my finish, depending on my cycle time. I played a mathematical game in understanding how a tool that, if I'm being honest, at that time, we just pulled the least expensive thing out of MSC. And that's what my accounting department made us do. So we weren't even buying the best stuff. I didn't know any better. I didn't get this training. I didn't get this technology. I didn't understand the difference really until I started educating myself on a 2-flute, 3-flute, 4-flute. I didn't know which materials it work better in. I didn't understand how some materials are stickier than others and some are harder than others, and the chip removal rate and removing the heat and sometimes needing more coolant or less coolant or no coolant. All of this for me was trial and error. That is why I say, and I can only imagine how much I cost the company, and not just me, because I was actually one of the leaders in our company and most people knew less than me.
Right,
if you think about that, that is why I think training, if we have, again, I'm pretending, an even playing field, why training is so darn important, Tim, and I think that's why OSG does so well, is focusing on educating people on how an angle, a geometry, a flute, and a combination of materials, whether it's ceramic or carbide or whatever it might be that you're utilizing, why they're important in certain situations and how people can actually make money by investing in the right products.
Today's episode is powered by Phillips Haas Training, trusted by over 3,000 machinists, programmers, and engineers who actually know what they're doing. We're talking hands-on CNC training, 100 5-star Google reviews, and a perfect 10 out of 10 rating. Check it out at phillipscorp.com/Tony Gunn. But here's the truth. Downtime is a thief. It steals productivity, profits, and patience. But Phillips Haas Training is the locksmith. Their expert-led hands-on courses cover alignment, electrical diagnostics, troubleshooting, and programming. You know, the stuff that actually keeps machines running instead of collecting dust. Over 3,000 pros have been through it, dropping 100 5-star reviews and giving it a flawless 10 out of 10. Shops even report up to 50% downtime reduction. That's not even training. That's a license to print money. Learn more at phillipscorp.com/Tony Gunn. Phillips Haas Training. Fewer breakdowns, more breakthroughs, and your machine's running smoother than a Black Sabbath riff. Less downtime, more uptime, more profit.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more, and that's a big part of what we do. So OSG develops our substrates. We're constantly on the forefront of trying to come up with better powdered metals, better grades of carbide, all these sorts of things, and also our coatings. We do a lot of proprietary coatings, so a lot of development and research goes into that. So there's constantly something new to train people on. If it's like the weather, if you don't like it now, wait an hour, it's going to change. That's technology. So we try to stay on the forefront of that. We do stay on the forefront of that. And most importantly, we keep everybody else up to speed on that. What's happening, what's going on, why you use a 2-flute in aluminum sometimes versus a 4-flute or a 5-flute. Why, in a slotting cutter, you're going to want more flute depth versus, more core diameter or something like that. These are things that we take for granted as being in the industry for a long time. They're sort of intrinsic knowledge for us, but it's, good for us to go out and train new people who don't know, who that's all new to them. So, and especially in the world of tapping. I find that's the biggest dark art out there.
Oh my gosh.
I feel like I've hit a nerve.
Wait, do we have another hour to talk about tapping?
Yeah.
Gosh.
Yeah, it's definitely a sore spot for many.
You would believe actually, because you're in the world, but I'm going to phrase it this way anyway. You would not believe how many taps I've broken from about 1032 and lower.
You and
the
me
big
both,
ones
brother.
Are okay.
You and me both. Yeah.
Or in a big one, I won't break it, but I'll rip my material out of my vise.
Yep, absolutely. Yep.
And some of the machines, I realize as I'm doing my research, aren't built for tapping, and I got to go back to manual tapping again.
Yeah, and that's that we hate to see that. So please don't do that. That is we do see it a lot, though. It's very common, and I was guilty of it too for many years. Honestly, before I came to OSG, for me, tapping was probably my least favorite thing to do. I was terrified of it. It always tends to be the last thing you do in the process. And a few of the shops I worked at for the longest part of my time, the parts were big and expensive. So to break a tap off at the very last thing, you didn't want to march into your boss's office and tell him you did that. So you did. You tended to do things by hand or go as slow as possible. You babied it. But what I found with OSG is when you teach people the right way, you teach them how to apply not just the right techniques, but the right tap, the right particular tap for that particular material, that particular hole, that particular situation, that does wonders. And honestly, I take people routinely, we take people all the time from breaking taps and hand tapping to comfortably tapping in the machine and saving a ton of money in cycle time and broken tools.
Dude, you just described all of my worst fears of. I would write programs and leave the tapping cycle out because I didn't want to have a broken tap in my material when everything else was finished.
I did the same thing. I was like, we'll let Bob figure that out there. They'll
Yeah.
he's been doing that for years.
Just hand tap that bad boy.
Exactly, yeah, but no longer. We have a lot of technology that can help with that, especially the holders too. That's been a big development too. The Synchro style, our Synchro Master holders are phenomenal for that.
And I even thinking about, as I got into the bigger ones, where I would start doing thread milling. Because I was like, I don't want to break my tap, man. I'm so scared.
Yes,
All right,
yes.
we have a few minutes left. What about the world of super alloys? Because you mentioned some parts that are expensive. I imagine some of those might have been super alloys. When we get into those, and aerospace and defense are booming right now. Even
Absolutely.
if some of the other ones may have gone down a little bit, those areas with difficult materials are doing really well. So are there any specialized products within the OSG line that support that side of things, which can be such a pain in the butt?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're seeing that ourselves all over the place. Defense, medical is another one where we're seeing a lot of these kind of new materials. And that's another thing we do a lot of training on is getting folks up to speed on the new nickel alloys, the new different sorts of titaniums and super alloys that are coming out. As far as product goes, we have a product in pretty much every category for these sorts of materials, whether it's our Hooney drill, which is designed specifically for nickel alloys, coolant through carbide drill, in stub and jobber length, does a really great job in those nickel alloys. To our taps, we have several different tap series that are pointed directly at nickel or titanium, depending on what you're running. Some are coolant through, some are not. And then the most exciting one, probably the newest one, is our end mill series, the VGM lineup. We've had a 5, 6, and 7 flute series of end mills out for some time, aimed at primarily steels with a hint of nickel and titanium ability. But the new series, the NI version and the TI version, VGM, NI, and TI respectively, those are going to be pointed exactly at those materials. And I think they're going to be a giant benefit to folks who use them, not only because the cost is going to be really great, but also the performance is going to be up there amongst the best in the world, as you expect from OSG.
Yeah, when I was not in charge of ordering and my accountant made us order on the front end was least expensive, I found it frustrating because the best results always come. The price per part at the end of the day is so much more valuable than saving a couple of bucks on the front end, to your point about having tools that can actually do the job, instead of trying to make a do-all tool that's only going to do 30% of what it needs to do.
Absolutely. And then those tools have their place. If
Sure.
you're going to fill a machine that's just going to be used for, the tools in that machine are used for any kind of job that comes through, sure. We have our multi-purpose taps and all those sorts of things, but more and more things are getting more specific, more job specific, and that's where these tools come into play. New grinding technologies, new coating technologies have allowed us to create the new generation of tools, and that's what we're doing.
Well, Tim, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you for being a machinist. Thank you for sharing your story so that we can inspire potential other machinists in the future. Your time has been incredibly valuable. I always thank people. Time is the one thing we cannot manufacture more of.
You got
we
that
can make
right.
almost anything, but not more time.
You got that. Well, thank you. Appreciate
Absolutely, man. Appreciate you.
Take care.
All right. Thank you all for watching. We will see you again soon. If you like this show, let us know. Leave it in the comments. Tim would love to hear from you. If you have any questions about OSG and how they can help you, training is very important. Don't be like me. Don't just turn the dial up and turn the dial down and listen to the noise and see what sounds good based on finish and tool life. Give these guys a call. They've already done that for us. Save a little money. Save a little headaches. Get out there and do the right thing. Thank you all for watching. We'll see you again soon. That's a wrap on this episode of The Gun Show. Thank you for tuning in, subscribing, and supporting the manufacturing movement that keeps the world turning. We couldn't do this without you, or without our incredible sponsors who believe in this mission as much as we do. Big thanks to Revelation Machinery, bringing the auction hammer down on deals so good it feels like daylight robbery, but legal. Whether you're buying or selling, they've got your back. To eButter Growth Systems, your factory's secret weapon for scaling up profits, leadership, and sanity. Because spreadsheets don't fix culture, but these guys might. To AMT and IMTS, the innovators behind the biggest show in manufacturing. If you want to see the future, you show up at IMTS. To NTMA, the voice of precision manufacturers across the U.S., fighting for shops like yours every single day. To Tecma, Mexico's premier machine tool exhibition, bridging borders and bringing global technology closer to home. To Shop Floor Coffee, the only coffee that tastes like a 5-axis machine running lights out on a Monday morning. Delicious and dedicated to workforce development. And last but never least, the American Precision Museum, honoring the roots of American manufacturing while inspiring the next generation to build what's next. Powered by MTDCNC and fueled by passion, this is The Gun Show. Until next time, stay curious, stay bold, and keep making things that move the world.